Hello, I'm here with Tony O'Leary, a Class 14 graduate of Leadership Akron, 1998, I believe, and this year's winner of the United Way's Distinguished Service Award for somebody who truly exemplifies dedication to community service, particularly in the areas of health, income, and education. Tell me about when you found out you were getting this award. Where were you, and what was that like to receive that notification?
Well, my response was very understated. I was actually working here in the office on a given day, and Mike Gaffney called, and he said he had some information he wanted to share, and he went into some explanation about a committee meeting and so forth. And I was really busy the day that he called. I was probably half listening at first, thinking, okay, they have a committee or something they need AMHA to do, or something about the United Way campaign or something. So he popped out with, so we had the committee, they met, and you've been selected for this very prestigious award. And I was kind of dumbfounded. I was completely surprised, and so I thanked him and whatnot. But I was actually at my desk. I had just gotten off a conference call. Computer was going. I was trying to decipher some numbers and information on there. Mind completely someplace else. So it really wasn't until I hung up the phone that it dawned on me, what the award was and how important it was.
So how have you approached translating what you're doing as a public leader into a community leader as well?
Well, you're right. The two do somewhat merge together. I know when I did my master's degree at Kent State University, I have a master's degree in public administration, but at that time, that degree was actually out of the business school, and our core curriculum was the same for an MBA versus an MPA, and I chose that deliberately because I really didn't know which career direction I may want to go in. But it really comes back to getting things done, I think, and then certain things just kind of stir your soul. Early in my career, I worked with actually Dorothy Jackson and a number of other people to set up something called the Youth Motivation Task Force, which was kind of a speaker series thing where people went into middle schools from all different career fields and talked to kids about their jobs and kind of reinforced the importance of doing well in school and that type of thing. So that was a passion. It was really just to work with young people. But as time's gone on, I've been drawn to different things. I wasn't on the original board of Keep Akron Beautiful, but I think I went on about the third year of that organization. And it was just a very fledgling organization at that time. And I look back all these many years later and see the impact that that's had on the community. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with my job per se, but you see those kinds of investments. Some years ago, I was on the board of a character counts program, which was important because it talked about values and ethics and integrity and the 6 pillars of character that are still being used today in the Akron Public Schools. Children's Hospital does a lot with that whole theme. But all of those different opportunities, I oftentimes look for something that's maybe quite different than what I do every day, just to, one, learn more about the community, and two, just kind of broaden your own interest.
Right, so you're adding value through your experience and expertise in the community setting, but also drawing a lot from that to be a well-rounded leader overall.
Right, yeah. The last thing I really want to do on a volunteer basis would be to go on a community board and say, we have a real estate committee or we have a property committee and we'd like you to be on that. No interest whatsoever. So again, I really like it when it's something completely different and maybe something outside my comfort zone.
You're a Class 14 graduate of Leadership Akron, clearly a leader in your own right even before going through the program, and have certainly excelled and accelerated your impact in the community since that time. What impact did going through the program have for you, and where do you see the impact on the community overall?
Actually, my going through the program really changed my whole view of Leadership Akron. All the years I was at the City of Akron, the mayor's office, for most of those years, I used to do the tour, the opening day tour on the bus, and do the narration and point out the sites of city government. A couple of times, the City of Akron was one of the key sponsors of Government Day, so I oftentimes did presentations as part of that. So I never really thought I had time to go through the program. I was encouraged to apply a couple of times. It did not. Well, what am I going to learn from that? Because I've obviously been in the community a long time. I've participated from a distance. That should be good enough. Just the opposite. I learned so many new things about the community. Probably the most important part was getting a better understanding of the, I knew that the economy had changed, I knew that the job base had changed, but when you actually started meeting classmates who were from those various smaller companies and different kinds of organizations, that was worth its weight in gold. And of course the community had changed, and you realized that you were really working with a slice of, you may have been a mile deep in a small slice of community life, but you really didn't know the arts, or you didn't really know what was happening in the major medical institutions. You knew they were growing, but you didn't know the type of growth and why they were growing. So just really gained a lot more knowledge. But if I had to probably boil it down to one thing that helped, it really is the networking capacity. It's a much overused term, I know, but it's really the relationships, the people, and probably not a month goes by that I don't get, and I know you hear this all the time, but I get the directory out and I'm calling somebody, whether it's in my own class or some other class, for something. And to me, that's been the most valuable part.
Your population that you serve is often at a very great hour of need, and you have a unique perspective on a lot of the issues facing the community. If you had to, based on that, make any observations about key trends or just problems or even opportunities that you see on the horizon, what does that look like for you?
Well, I think it's been stated by many, but I think our single biggest challenge is to make sure that we have a good strategy for developing and retaining talent in this community. If there's one thing that's not well understood by the general public, it's the fact that we really do have a strong job base here. The economy's changed from manufacturing base primarily to service and medical and education and other service-driven kinds of things. And that's a hard concept to sell, because it's a lot easier if you can drive by Goodyear and people can say there's a great big place, there must be thousands of jobs there, like it was when I got out of high school.
You can smell the jobs downtown, right?
But I think that's our biggest challenge, is to find out how best we can educate young people, how we get young people to return to the community when they complete their education, and so forth. So that to me is the biggest thing. I think the trends in terms of the community, it's tough. I mean, when you look at public officials such as the mayor, the county executive, whatever, and you look at the economic base, we've got to find a way to do more things regionally. We've got to find a way to reinvent government and government services. And we're in a very strange place right now. I think people have expectations that are way up here. What they want to pay is way down here. And well, I think we've made huge advances as a community in terms of having very good government, very good leadership. I think we're really just starting to scratch the surface on what can be done to actually save resources and be smarter about those things. But for a city this size, or a county this size, to have economic development efforts that go internationally, to have a business incubator that is one of the oldest in the country, having the successes that they do, to have the biomedical corridor concept evolving, to have the kind of growth and recognition that the hospitals have earned the last decade or more, is really something. But the difficulty is, how do you translate that to folks who, many of those jobs don't fit the population that we have, either because of interest or because of education. And so that's our biggest challenge as leaders, I think, is to make sure that as much as possible we do have avenues for everyone to be successful. But at the same time, we've got to recognize there are some people in every society, in every community, that aren't going to be able to support themselves. And whether that's due to age, whether it's due to physical limitations, mental illness, criminal justice problems, whatever, you still need a network of services to act as a safety net. And that's the least popular part of government today, because we listen to the rhetoric nationally especially. There's not much support for those things, and it's very easy in general, in the abstract, to say, well, these people ought to get a job and get a life. Well, what do we need to be supporting them for? But when you actually learn about the situation and the conditions that confront people, then you realize, no, we do need certain support services. So I think the future challenge is education first in the broad sense. It's retaining talent, and it's really doing a better job, I think, of marketing ourselves both to our own citizens and to the nation.
So thanks for taking some time for me to pick your brain and learn more about your approach and your example of leadership.
Well, it's my pleasure, Mark, and I, again, commend you for the great work you've done at Leadership Akron. It's a big part of the formula for success, I think, both currently and going forward.